Breaking news, an earthquake on a terrifying scale. Officials say it's a magnitude 7.8 quake.
All it took was 80 seconds for more than 13,000 buildings to come crumbling down. 80 seconds for homes, offices, factories, and entire cities to be destroyed.
In southern Turkey, buildings crumble like...
The physical destruction is immense, but the human toll is harder to comprehend. In February of 2023, a 7.8 magnitude earthquake devastated this part of southern Turkey and northern Syria. 60,000 people lost their lives in what was the deadliest earthquake this country has seen in 1,500 years. I'm standing in the center of the city of Antakya, where this time last year I would have been surrounded by buildings and people's homes. Now, just piles of rubble. And the buildings that are still standing, they're so weak and dangerous, they have to be torn down. But for the people who survived, their lives will never be the same. In the region of Iskenderun, one of the worst affected by the earthquake, everyone remembers that night vividly. Like Ifran Siran, a local shop owner. What do you remember from the night of the earthquake? What was it like?
It was 4 o'clock in the morning, 17 minutes past 4, and suddenly everything started moving. It was a very frightening thing. We shook for 1 minute, just like that. It went on and on.
At a time like that, what goes through your head?
We all thought we were going to die. We said, okay, this is it. We are all going to die. But thank God we survived.
Ifran is one of the lucky ones. His building survived and so did he. But he lost 11 cousins and relatives in the earthquake and the aftershocks in the following days.
My sister's daughter was buried under the rubble for 4 days. Let me show you. The concrete ceiling collapsed on top of her, and she was stuck just like this for 4 whole days.
For 4 days. For those who did survive but had their homes destroyed, many have ended up in camps like this one.
This country is facing an unprecedented homelessness crisis.
2 million people are living in camps after the earthquake. 80% of them are women and children. They live in tents and prefabricated rooms. What do you remember from the night of the earthquake?
I remember waking up to find the whole house shaking. We felt so much fear. We were terrified. It was after I got out that the building completely collapsed. Everything was gone.
Nice to meet you. How are you?
I remember the house started to shake and we ran out.
What did you feel?
I was so scared when the house shook.
This family is from Syria, but have been living here in Turkey for 10 years after coming to escape the war. They had a home, but now that is destroyed. And with no money, this is the best they will have while they wait for another option. The mother does not want to show her face on camera.
How can we care for our children in this situation? They have to go outside and walk if they want to use the bathroom, sometimes at night, in the dark, and the cold. There are no services here. My 9-year-old boy wants to leave the camp, but what can I tell him?
So what is your hope for the future, your dream for the future?
My wish is to leave this camp for something better, we hope, God willing.
In a different part of the camp, another family shows me around their tent.
This water is for washing dishes. We fill this barrel and use the water to wash.
And you use for cooking over here?
Yes. I'm the same as everyone else here. Do I like it? No. But what can I do?
When you see the physical destruction, even a year later, so many towns and cities still in ruins, it's hard to imagine how a country with a struggling economy is going to pay for this mammoth rebuild. There's also the question of negligence by the construction industry. Why did so many buildings completely collapse while others remained standing? They were all hit by the same earthquake. Emotions have been running high in the country as evidence has emerged of construction companies having cut corners or ignored regulations. People want answers and they want justice. One of those 13,000 structures destroyed was the Catholic Church of the Annunciation in Iskenderun. Father Antoine Ilgit is a Turkish bishop who ran into the church at 4 a.m. that night. When you ran inside the church from your home, was there still rubble falling? Was the ground still shaking? What was it like when you entered the church in that very moment?
No, everything was gone. It was like this. I climbed up on the rubble and looked out over my city. And then the first thing that I saw was the statue of the Madonna, which was intact. On the other side was a statue of Saint Anthony of Padua, who is my patron saint. That too was intact. These were truly the very first signs of hope for me. Then, with the help of the sister, we immediately went to the tabernacle and took out the Blessed Sacrament. And to our amazement, that too was intact.
Father Antoine, along with the sisters, rushed to save the statues and Blessed Sacrament from the church. Today, they remain inside the parish house, where Mass is celebrated in a hall. Immediately after the earthquake struck, the Catholic organization Malteser International sprang into action, providing food, hygiene packs, funding, and other essentials to the survivors. Nejad Sheikh is the country coordinator.
We have distributed food baskets as well as hygiene kits, both for our Turkish response as well as our Syria cross-border response. People still don't have dignified housing. Some have lost everything they've had and need to start from scratch. We have a huge refugee community here in Turkey. They came and escaped that war, came to Turkey, and then they have to survive a natural disaster that nobody has even, imagined they will happen.
So it's like one thing compounded on top of the other.
On top of the other, on top of, exactly.
For Nejad and her team, this has been a difficult relief effort. Many of their own team were caught in the earthquake and lost loved ones. From the people that you meet and that you're dealing with through your work, how does it affect them? Psychologically, mentally, emotionally?
We have some staff members who've actually dropped their mattresses outside the window and jumped from a 5-story building. She broke both of her feet. To this day, she cannot talk about it, because the trauma, the scars that we don't see are the biggest ones. The effects of something like this is really huge. One of those things that can help people to recover a bit faster is to live more dignified lives.
Some families fled the area straight after the earthquake, like Erdink and Rosemary, who moved to Istanbul and are now living above a Catholic church.
If it was just one place that had been destroyed, everyone could have gone to help. But everything was destroyed at the same time, and everyone needed help at the same time. So there was nothing anyone could do. There was nothing we could even do for ourselves. The only thing we could do was pray to God.
So you came here to Istanbul. Is the plan to stay here in the city, or do you eventually want to go and head back home?
After the earthquake, we no longer make plans. Because we always had a plan in life. My wife and I always had a plan. But God showed us that those plans can change, and very quickly. So now we don't make big plans for the future. We just eat our daily bread and continue our daily lives. That's why we're actually very happy right now.
The survivors of this tragedy have their lives on hold, putting on a brave face and waiting for signs of hope. What keeps you going? What gives you hope for the future?
Hope gets sort of crushed, especially after the earthquake. You're not the same person as before.
But you want to fight for a better future?
Well, I'm trying. But first, we have to leave this place, and then we can think of the future.
Let's take a look now at the state of the...
And as the wars in Ukraine and Gaza dominate the headlines, humanitarian groups here feel the stories of this disaster and its victims are being overshadowed. They want to make sure that these people who have suffered so much and have so little are not forgotten.
You can rebuild the house, you can buy furniture, you can buy, material stuff, but you can never gain those people that have lost their lives in this earthquake.
And for Father Antoine, it's hard to preach about God's mercy at a time like this, but the fact that he found the tabernacle intact on that night of the earthquake is a sign of hope for him. Bishop, what do you say to people who are trying to cling to hope and their faith when they look around at such devastation in their towns and their homes and 60,000 people killed, and they think, why would this all-loving, all-caring God send this my way?
The Holy Father asked me the same question after the earthquake. He said, "It will be difficult to preach about hope to your community." And I confessed to him that, yes, it would be. But I think there is an intrinsic strength in humans, something that the Lord has placed within all of us. And even when we go through experiences like this, earthquakes, wars, and other challenges, the Lord is always with us. He never abandons us. He stayed in the tabernacle during that earthquake, saying, "I am here. I am with you."
In Turkey, Colm Flynn for EWTN News In Depth.